Let's now get the facts on Talk of the Nation tonight. Now, a week ago, Ugandan traders attempting to export maize to Kenya were left stranded after it emerged that Nairobi would not let their product in, citing cases of aflatoxins. Now, after complaints from Uganda, Kenya relented, but it still remains difficult for Ugandans to export their product. And tonight we speak to Judge Stephen Odongo, who is one of the representatives of the East African Legislative Assembly on this matter, and mostly to understand what is the role of the East African community in this situation. Welcome to Talk of the Nation tonight.
Thank you.
Well, first things first, what exactly is happening between Uganda and Kenya? At first, we had reports and we could see that Ugandans were not supposed to export maize. And later, Nairobi seemed to say, it's okay, you can export. What is the current situation? Are we allowed to export our maize to Kenya or not?
Well, the communication has not yet been made official. You might have heard from our own Minister of Trade saying she hasn't received any official communication, but there are indications that Nairobi has decided to allow the importation of Ugandan maize, but under certain conditions. So that is the position as it is right now.
Would you say the conditions that have been put in place are favorable to the Ugandan maize farmers?
Well, I don't know whether to say favorable or unfavorable, but there is a mechanism. First of all, Kenya is within their right to say would like to regulate the entry of maize on the basis of, health and safety, because our treaty provides for that. But it is only wrong if it is being used as an excuse to give advantage to the Kenyan traders when it comes to issues of maize. And that is what our suspicion is. But we are yet to investigate and find out exactly what is the motivation behind Kenya's measures to reduce on to ban the maize entry into the Kenyan market. Yes.
Staying with the fact that you mentioned you were trying to find out the motivation. If you look back, this is not the first time it has happened. This is not the first time we are seeing East African communities, Nairobi, Kenya to be specific, banning certain products from Uganda. What exactly is the problem? What are we getting wrong in this scenario?
Matters of trade are matters that require that we consistently negotiate, discuss, and there are frameworks for that within the East African community. That's why when Kenya unilaterally came up with this measure, the East African Community Secretariat, I'm in possession of a letter that was written by the Director of Trade, the East African Community Secretariat, to Kenya, reminding them of their obligations under the Customs Union Protocol to respect the provisions of that protocol, but also to remind them that under the WTO principle of transparency, and also under our SQMT, what we call the standards, the Quality Assurance Act of 2006, any measures that result into disruption of trade between partner states has got to be, you have got to communicate those measures to the partner states 60 days before its implementation. So I think that what Kenya did was in contravention of the provisions of that act. That's the more reason why the Secretariat took it to themselves to remind Kenya that even if there were concerns to do with aflatoxins, to do with the quality of maize that is coming from Uganda, they needed to have given Uganda 60 days notice, not to just disrupt the trade between the borders without notice.
Do you think this is going to affect the relationship between Nairobi and Uganda, between Kenya and Uganda at some point?
Our relationship with Kenya is very solid. And this is an incident. And
which we've had of before.
Yeah, like I said before, that trade relations, our integration is largely driven by private sector, by trade. And everywhere in the world where trade is involved, there are bound to be issues like this as we continue to trade. But there are mechanisms, and that's where our complaint is, that there are mechanisms, there are measures that are contained in our legal frameworks as the East African community that you need to explore before you can do something like this. And Kenya, I think, for once or twice has continued to go against those measures. Now, I have been having conversations with the technical people at the East African Community Secretariat. There is already, they have invited the East African Grain Council together with the other stakeholders to have a conversation, to remind themselves of everyone's obligation. We have an obligation to make sure that we export maize and any other product that falls within our standards. There is the East African Standards Act that provides for legally the quality of whether maize or any other goods that are traded within the region. If any partner states falls below that standard, it is the obligation of the other party to remind them of their obligation. Those are things that we can continue to improve on. I think Kenya has this time acted unilaterally, and I think this is now like the second time or third time, and we are beginning to get concerned. And that's why everybody's antennas are up. Not only Uganda, but also Tanzanians have already raised these concerns. I think going forward, there is going to be an intense engagement between our departments of trade, ministries and departments of trade, and our colleagues and our partner in Kenya. So this is going to be an ongoing conversation.
Well, maybe also what we see coming out clearly is that Kenya is saying no to some of our maize because of aflatoxins, but also we as Ugandans can be affected by it. I believe you have interacted with different stakeholders. Where is the problem? Is it coming from the farmers or the traders? I know with the whole issue of aflatoxins, it's a very complex topic, but where is the blame being put on exactly?
Well, you see, I'm not very technical in that area, but what I have gathered is that aflatoxins starts from production.
From the garden?
From all the way from garden.
Okay.
All the way to harvesting and post-harvest handling, you know, all those, the whole chain of production. So we need to invest more on improving on the quality of our production and also of our storage. I've read a letter from the Trade Department of the East African Community saying they're engaging the different stakeholders to find a way with which they can help farmers within the region to improve on the management of their production systems, to ensure that we fall within our standards. I think that is an area that we need to invest more as we go forward, to ensure that all our products meet the standard.
So basically, as a country right now, as we wait to streamline our relationship with our neighboring countries, we should focus more on what we bring to the market, not so?
Obviously, we need to do that. We need to do that.
And maybe finally, as a representative, Uganda's representative to the East African Legislative Assembly, what should we be doing as East African countries, Uganda to be specific, to ensure that we avoid, you know, all the different issues that may arise from the different problems that come out of our trade with other countries?
Well, first of all, you see, it's not the lack of legal frameworks. I think that at the East African community level, we have done a good job of making sure that we have the laws available. We have the legal frameworks available. But the East African community does not act by itself as a secretariat. It acts through the partner states. Our experience is that the partner states are having compliance issues. Even what you're seeing today happening between us and Kenya is an issue of compliance, because there is a legal framework that guides actions of partner states. So what we would be calling for really as a commitment to our regional integration is for the partner states to look at the existing legal frameworks and see that they realign their national legal frameworks to reflect our regional commitments, so that whatever we do is consistent with our ambition of regional integration. So this is our biggest challenge as a community, and I think that going forward we need to intensify our engagements with the different partner states to see that all the laws that we have passed, to verify that we are compliant with all the legal frameworks that have been passed by the community.
Don't you think, maybe one would say, don't you think they should be a stronger stand, or maybe for lack of a better word, I'll use like a punishment, you know, where you put in place a certain strategies for countries to operate. You cannot just wake up and say trade has to stop between this country, we are stopping this import or export. Don't you think as the East African Legislative Assembly you need to come up with a body that can enforce that?
Well, you see, the customs union, first of all, the customs union protocol envisages under Article 24 what we call the Trade Remedies Committee. The Trade Remedies Committee consists of 3 experts per partner state. There is a legal expert, there is a trade expert, and there is a customs expert. This committee is supposed to be the one that is engaged in ensuring that there is compliance in every partner state. Matters like this, cross-border matters, are supposed to be handled by the Committee on Trade Remedies. Unfortunately, up to date, the Committee of Trade Remedies has not been constituted. That is a huge gap in our trade relations, because most of the things that you see are operational issues that would have been handled by the Committee on Trade and Remedies. But because of the absence of that committee, we are now seeing all this. It's even envisaged in our Customs Management Act that you are going to have a Trade Remedies Committee that would enable us to iron out some of these issues, whether it is issues of just trade, or it is issues of compliance with our Customs Act. So your question is, we should be having somebody doing this? Yes, that person is there, except that it has not been constituted. So legally, we have provision for it,
but it's not operational.
Practically, it is not operational.
All right. Well, what does this entire situation mean to a farmer, a maize farmer deep in the village? What does this mean to them?
First is that we need to, you know, over the years, there is good news for Uganda. The good news is that we have flipped our trade relations with particularly Kenya. We used to be the net importers from Kenya, but right now we are exporting a lot to the Kenyan market. That means we, the maize farmers or whoever, should now raise our standards so that we don't become victims of anybody's sinister motive, if at all it is there, who uses the legal provisions, you know, to regulate how much maize or how much exports we would want to get into the market. So that in the event that person raises some of those issues, we pass the standards, and then we can deal with the other issues. It means that you even have a right to go to court, because your goods meet the standards, and therefore one other partner, maybe another partner state is denying you entry into that market. So we need to make sure that our farmers, our exporters, meet our standards. And there is a law already. You know, there is a law, and there was even harmonization of standards. So there is an East African Standards Act, which was harmonized across the East African region. So what we need to do as a country within the trading bloc is to ensure that our farmers, our exporters meet the standards, and then we can deal with the others if at all they are going against the existing laws.
All right, thank you so much, Judge Stephen Odongo, for joining us tonight on Talk of the Nation and speaking to us about the recent events in regards to the stopping of exporting maize from Uganda to Kenya. We wait to see what happens in the next few weeks, and as NTV, we will of course update you on that and so much more. Thank you all for joining us, and you too can send us your thoughts on this topic on our social media platforms. NTV Weekend Edition will continue shortly.